Hey everyone, Son of Sanguinius here, and today we're going to be continuing our Blood Angels Tactics videos with a look at the Terminator Assault Squads. So, they come in at 200 points. They are Weapon Skill 4, Ballistic Skill 4, Strength 4, Toughness 4, 1 Wound, Initiative 4 with 2 attacks, Leadership 9 with a 2-up Armor save. For War Gear, they have Terminator Armor and 2 Lightning Claws. Special rules are, and they shall know no fear, Combat Squads, and Furious Charge. For options, they may include up to 5 additional Terminators for 40 points per model. Any model may replace his 2 Lightning Claws with a Thunderhammer and Storm Shield for 5 points per model. 1 Terminator may replace either a single Lightning Claw or a Storm Shield with a company standard for 5 points. And lastly, the unit may take a Land Raider Crusader, or a Land Raider Redeemer as a dedicated transport. So, Terminator Assault Squads. Honestly, most people love them. Most people love the Hammernators. But most people do like Terminator Assault Squads. Mainly for the fact that they are A, resilient, and B, powerful, at least the way people tend to build them, which is the Thunderhammer Storm Shield combo. But before we get into that, I feel we should mention just sort of the basic Terminator, Assault Squad with their Lightning Claws. Honestly, we are still overcosted at 200 points. The Space Marine Terminator Assault Squads, I believe, are 175. I believe. I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure they are reduced in points with their new codex that came out in 7th edition. We still haven't been updated on that. GW has been like, hey, we're going to sell you all this stuff, and we're not going to update any of your data sheets except for Assault Marines and Devastators. One of which, both of which let you use both things out of the box. One of which is good, and the other one, makes Blood Angels Assault Marines just as useless as everyone else's. But all my GW. Beef aside, taking a look at Lightning Claws. Now, here is where Blood Angels are pretty much better than anyone else. Because we have Furious Charge, and if we take them in a detachment that has it, we also have the Red Thirst. So, in this case, a lot of people like, the Lightning Claws in some respects because, hey, you figure, you charge in, that's, 4 attacks per model. So if there's 5 model, that's 20, strength 4, AP 3 attacks. That's awesome. But for us Blood Angels, we have Furious Charge and the Red First. So not only are we +1 initiative, but we're also +1 strength. So that's going to be, 20 strength 5, AP 3 attacks at initiative 5. And that is awesome. I think I said so in the last video. He who strikes first strikes last. This is awesome. Not only do we have the armor penetrating capability to basically chew through most things except other Terminators and their equivalents, but we also are going to strike at a higher initiative, which means our opponent's going to be forced to remove models before they have a chance to hit back, and that is awesome. So as far as gearing up a Terminator Assault Squad that way, if your only goal is to basically chew through mobs of infantry, then I would opt for just the simple Lightning Claws. Now looking at the other option, which is the Thunderhammer Storm Shield, pretty much that is the option you want to take if you want whatever you're throwing at whatever you're going to throw these guys at to die. Vehicles, monsters, creatures, heavy infantry, other Space Marines, other Terminators, whatever. Thunderhammer Storm Shield Terminators can just basically wipe them out. Strength 8, AP 2. You figure they got what 3 attacks each on the charge, so that's going to be 15. Attacks. It's gonna be messy for your opponent. Just sort of a slight thing to mention here. Blood Angels are better in this respect again, simply due to Furious Charge. The Red Thirst doesn't matter because Thunderhammers are unwieldy. But in most cases it won't matter. But against something like against vehicle armor values and against, let's say, toughness 10. We are going to do significantly better. Say something is toughness 10, and before you'd be strength 8. With, let's say, like a regular Space Marine Terminator, they'd be strength 8 with a Thunderhammer. So that means, if they were hitting something toughness 10, they would be wounding on a 6+, whereas for us it would be a 5+. That may not sound like a lot, but that basically increases our odds of wounding from 1 in a 6 chance to 1 in a 3 chance. So it basically doubles our odds there. So moving on to just some general tactics. Deep strike is possible, but it's not preferred, purely because in order for these guys to work, you're going to need to get them into the assault, and in most cases, bar the Archangel's orbital intervention force, which we will certainly talk about from Angel's Blade, just taking these units as they are, sort of on their own. Deep striking is possible, but it's generally not preferred. And if you do choose to do it, I would almost certainly recommend going with the Thunderhammer Storm Shield combo, simply because your opponent is not going to waste any time laying down as many shots into these guys as possible. Another thing to keep in mind too is the Lightning Claws are going to be vulnerable to AP2 and AP1. The 2-up armor is great against most things, but it's not so great against, your enemy's plasma, or your enemy's melta, or your enemy's, whatever shenanigans that they may have. And that 5-up invuln, that may save some of your guys, but that's certainly not going to save all of them, especially if your opponent is, not wasting any time, laying in those kind of, that kind of, volume of shots plus, AP2, AP1. Your Terminator Assault Squad is going to get wiped out. The Storm Shields can take it with a 3-up invuln. Obviously, it's not as good, but hey, it's a hell of a lot better than a 5-up invuln. That means, on average, 2 out of every 3 of your guys are going to live, which is great, especially if you do deep strike them. And generally speaking, I would not recommend that, simply because unlike, say, the normal Terminator squads, where you can sort of, place them away from your enemies and, fire shots, these guys can't. They don't have any shooting whatsoever. So you're basically just going to be forced to sort of deep strike next to your opponent, and then your Terminators will promptly sit there and get shot in the face for the Emperor, as your opponent will waste no time taking them out. So if we're not going to deep strike them, what are we going to do? So for Lightning Claws, I would say probably a Land Raider and or a Storm Raven. I say this for 2 reasons. One, you could run them up the table, but they're not going to be able to do anything while they're running to whatever they want to charge. And if they're not doing anything, then they're not being used as effectively as possible. If you pair them with the transport, yes, it's more expensive, but you're basically giving yourself a little bit more insurance for your units. And Land Raiders and Storm Ravens are both assault vehicles, so as soon as they disembark, they're going to be able to charge in whatever you want to die, and that's good. Because again, something like the Storm Raven, it's going to be in deep, or it's going to be in reserve. It's going to be a little bit unreliable, but there are ways to manipulate that roll, and it's going to have to be on for 1 turn before you can go into hover mode and then disembark and then charge. The Land Raider, it's going to be, the Land Raiders can be pretty tough. I wouldn't worry about it too much, so long as you're not, driving your Land Raider up in the open. Obviously, there has to be a certain level of common sense when we're, talking about how to get things from point A to point B. Driving right down the center in anything is usually not a good idea. So that's the main thing. Lightning Claws, the Lightning Claw build certainly needs a little bit more protection than the Storm Shield build. For Storm Shields, a lot of it still applies, either, Land Raiders or Storm Ravens, whichever, suits your fancy. I could see a possible deep striking with Storm Shields, simply because they do have that sort of resiliency there. Unless your opponent just isn't running a whole lot of AP1 or AP2, I would not recommend deep striking Lightning Clawed Assault Terminators. Because more often than not, as I've said, over and over and over again, your opponent is not going to waste any time targeting these elite units, especially if they know that, Blood Angel, Assault Terminators are pretty much better than everyone else's. So, just, keep that in mind. The Storm Shield thing is viable, although, frankly, against just regular las guns or bolters or whatever, the storm shield versus lightning cloud thing really stops mattering. It's mainly just because your opponent, just like I said, isn't going to waste any time laying in those shots. So anyway, that's all I have for this video. Terminator Assault Squads. A lot of people love them, and I think that they certainly earn their reputation wholeheartedly. They are awesome. The Blood Angel Assault Terminators models are awesome, and pretty resilient, pretty good. Can be pretty devastating, whether against infantry or against monstrous creatures, heavy infantry vehicles, what have you. You really just have to pick your poison and then apply it properly. So anyway, that's all I got for this video. Feel free to leave a comment down below, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.